Emily was at her post, behind the counter of the Jardín das Estrellas restaurant, one of the most renowned in the luxurious city of New Orleans. The environment, decorated with sparkling chandeliers and elegantly set tables, exuded a magnificent aura that left the most demanding customers in ecstasy. She, a young woman with light brown hair and eyes that reflected a mix of determination and dreams, moved quickly between the tables, trying to serve everyone with a smile on her face, even if, inside, she felt the weight of expectations. "Miss, one more wine, please," shouted a customer from the back of the room, his voice echoing between the tables. Emily nodded, her heart racing. She couldn't afford to make mistakes. Every request, every gesture, counted. As she hurried to fulfill the request, her mind wandered to a seemingly distant future where she could be in a kitchen, creating delicious and innovative dishes. The dream of studying gastronomy burned inside her like a fire that wouldn't go out. As soon as he managed to fulfill the customer's order, a hesitant smile appeared on his lips. "Here you go, sir. I hope you enjoy it," she said, her voice soft. The man looked her up and down, an expression of disdain on his face. "Do you really think you can please me with cheap wine like that?" he snapped, causing Emily to swallow hard, humiliation burning in her cheeks. But before he could respond, the restaurant's door opened and, like a storm, a group of rich young people walked in, laughing and talking loudly. Tyler, a young man with blonde hair and an arrogant look, led the group, followed by Madison and Jake. Their presence was instantly noticed by everyone, as if the money they carried in their bank accounts translated into an aura of superiority. "Look who we have here," Madison exclaimed, her voice thick with sarcasm. "Our dear waitress. How's your work, Emily? Shouldn't you be at school or something?" Jake and Tyler's laughter joined the mockery, echoing in the luxurious room. Emily felt the ground open beneath her feet, but she forced a smile, already used to these attacks. "I'm here to serve, Madison. And you, as always, to have fun," Emily replied, trying to maintain her composure. "Can I get you something?" "Yeah, bring us something that isn't so ordinary," Tyler said, smirking, looking at Emily's uniform. "Maybe a little class, if you know what that means." His words cut like a blade, and the young woman turned quickly, hiding the pain she felt. Those situations became more and more frequent, and she wondered if one day she would have the chance to leave this hostile environment. At the end of her shift, exhausted and emotionally drained, Emily left the restaurant and headed back home. The cool night breeze enveloped her, and when she arrived at the small house she shared with her sister, she found her friend Lucas waiting. He always supported her, and that night would be no different. "How was work?" Lucas asked, with a worried look. "More of the same. They don't change, you know? Tyler, Madison, and Jake. They love to make jokes at my expense," Emily vented, letting out a heavy sigh. Lucas frowned. "They don't know how talented you are. You're just saving up to study gastronomy, and that's more important than any comments from them." "I know, but sometimes it's hard. I dream of having my own kitchen, creating dishes that people love. And it seems so far away," Emily replied, her voice breaking. "But I won't give up. One day, they'll realize there's so much more to me than just a waitress." As they talked, hope once again began to shine within her, like a small flame in the midst of darkness. "One day, I'll show them what I'm really capable of," he concluded with determination. Lucas smiled, encouraging her. "I believe in you, Emily. And one day, they will regret making fun of you." The morning after Emily ended her shift at the restaurant started intense and full of nervousness. The sun shone radiantly through the windows of the modest apartment where she lived, but the light could not warm the cold that enveloped her heart. I knew that day would be different. The rich young men, Tyler, Madison, and Jake, were hosting an extravagant birthday party at the restaurant, and she, as always, would be the waitress assigned to serve them. While getting ready, Emily looked at her reflection in the mirror. Her tired face barely reflected the determination that pulsed within her. "Just one more day, Emily," she murmured to herself, trying to convince herself that everything would be okay. She put on her uniform, a fitted black dress that gave her an elegant air, and with one last deep sigh, left the house. Upon arriving at the restaurant, The atmosphere was busy. The team was preparing for the party, and Emily felt the pressure building. The room was decorated with gold and silver balloons, elegantly set tables, and a delicious aroma of sophisticated dishes being prepared in the kitchen. She made her way to the table where the rich young people were taking their seats, her heart pounding as she tried to ignore her anxiety. "Look who arrived. Our dear waitress," Tyler shouted, his voice full of sarcasm. Madison and Jake laughed, and the group soon started making jokes. "Did you bring your recipe book, Emily? Or will only what you learned in high school be of use to us?" Emily forced a smile, pouring drinks with shaking hands. "What do you want to drink?" he asked, trying to maintain his composure. "Water, please." "We don't want you to try too hard," Jake replied, winking at his friends. Their laughter echoed throughout the room, but Emily knew she couldn't let it get her down. "I'm going to bring the water now," he said, his voice firm, even though inside he felt like he was falling apart. As the party progressed, the nasty comments continued. With each dish she served, Emily heard giggles and cruel observations about her life and choices. Imagine what it must be like to wake up every day knowing that your dream is to be a cook. "How pathetic," Madison exclaimed, grimacing. "Hey, let's order the house specialty." "That dish you must have learned to make at home," Tyler added, laughing derisively. Emily took a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. Every dish she served was an opportunity to show her dedication, even if those young people couldn't see the true value of her work. She remembered her dream of studying gastronomy and how each day at the restaurant was a step closer to realizing it. However, as the party continued, something unexpected happened. An elderly man, with an air of dignity and familiarity, entered the restaurant, and his eyes quickly fell on Emily. "Emily, it's amazing to see you here. How are you?" he exclaimed, with a warm smile. "Hello, Mr. Thompson. I am well, thank you," replied Emily, feeling that a ray of hope was lighting up her night. "You have always been a tireless worker, my dear. I'm so proud of you," he said, catching the attention of the rich kids around the table. "I think everyone should learn from you about what it means to really work hard." The group fell silent, clearly intrigued and embarrassed by the public praise. Madison exchanged nervous glances with Tyler and Jake, who seemed unsure of how to react. "Who is this gentleman?" Jake murmured to Tyler, but the question had no answers. The man's presence brought an air of respect that defied the group's usual contempt for Emily. The party ran its course, but the atmosphere had changed. Emily felt a mix of gratitude and strength. The support from that old family friend was a reminder that despite the difficulties, she was not alone. And as she continued to serve the guests, she decided that she would not let the cruelty of some rich young men define her. "Thank you again, Mr. Thompson," Emily said, when she had the opportunity to approach him again. "Your words mean more than you know. You deserve it, my dear." "Never forget your worth," he replied, with a sincere smile. Emily smiled back, her heart warmed by the supportive words. In that moment, she felt stronger than ever, ready to face any challenge that came her way. Emily began to realize that her hard work and dedication were finally being recognized. The movement in the restaurant had become a little calmer, and she had the opportunity to interact with some customers who, unlike the group of rich young people, were kind and appreciative of her skills. While serving a table of executives who were discussing business, one of them, a man with gray hair and a friendly look, praised his services. "You are an exceptional waitress, young lady. What you do here is admirable," he said, with a sincere smile. Emily felt her heart warm at the words. "Thank you, sir. I'm just doing my job," she replied, trying to hide the emotion that invaded her. The others at the table agreed, and she realized that the satisfaction of a happy customer was worth more than any cruel joke she might hear. Meanwhile, Tyler watched from afar. He was intrigued. What was so special about Emily? He couldn't understand how a simple waitress could win the favor of people he and his friends considered superior. The contrast between the image he had of her and what he saw in front of him confused him. "Madison, did you see that? The old lady really likes her," he commented, crossing his arms and frowning. "She's just being nice, Tyler. Waitresses are like that. It's their job," Madison replied, but there was a hint of doubt in her voice. Even she, who was always so critical, couldn't ignore the glow that Emily displayed as she moved between the tables, always with a smile and a kind word. Tyler felt pressured to maintain his superior attitude, but the truth was, even though he didn't want to admit it, he was starting to see Emily in a different light. Realizing that she wasn't just a waitress, but a young woman with dreams and ambitions, made him uneasy. He remembered when she had spoken about her desire to study gastronomy, and the idea that she could be much more than her social position suggested began to take root in his mind. Deep down, Emily knew that every small gesture of recognition motivated her even more. That night, as she washed the dishes and organized things after the restaurant closed, she daydreamed. What would it be like if one day you could be a renowned chef? The idea of being in a professional kitchen, creating dishes that delighted people, made her buzz with excitement. It was then that she saw a poster posted on the kitchen wall. Young Chefs Competition, registration open. His heart raced. This could be the chance she had been waiting for. With her mind buzzing with ideas, Emily decided she would sign up but not tell anyone. It was a dream that needed to be kept a secret, at least until she was ready to expose herself. Meanwhile, at a table near the entrance, Tyler and his friends were discussing the upcoming social events they were going to attend. Jake, with his usual sarcastic tone, commented, "I think we're going to have to bring our own waitress to the party. With this new discovery of her talent, perhaps she can cook for us too." Everyone laughed, but Tyler became thoughtful, the idea of Emily as a chef beginning to take root in his mind. "She's more than you think, Jake," Tyler said, not wanting to put too much emphasis on it, but not being able to help it. He himself didn't know why he cared. What had turned into a simple observation became a deep reflection on how the young woman's life was about to change, while his remained stagnant in a cycle of parties and superficialities. The night passed, and Emily left the restaurant, her heart beating with the possibility of a different future. As she walked through the city's bright streets, she felt more determined than ever. The Young Chef Competition could be your way to showcase not only your talent, but also your true essence. And perhaps, who knows, even change the perception of those who always saw her as inferior. The enveloping aroma from the kitchen mixed with the palpable tension in the auditorium where the Young Chef Competition was about to begin. Emily, with her impeccable uniform and a hint of nervousness in her eyes, watched the other competitors getting ready. The energy was high, and the murmur of the audience became a distant echo in his mind. She was determined to showcase her talent and, above all, to prove to herself that she could go beyond the expectations others had of her. As the jurors took their seats, Emily took a deep breath, trying to drown out the voices of doubt that insisted on whispering in her mind. The brightness of the stage lights made her heart race, but she remembered every moment she had dedicated to her dream, every dish she had rehearsed and every recipe she had meticulously adjusted. "I can do this," he thought, as he took the first steps towards his station. On the other side of the auditorium, Tyler, Madison, and Jake settled into their seats, expressions of disdain on their faces. Madison, with her sarcastic tone, turned to her friends and said, "Look, the waitress is about to become a chef. This is going to be hilarious." Jake joined in the laughter, while Tyler just watched, a look of confusion beginning to form on his face. Part of him wanted to laugh, but there was something about Emily's determination that seemed to challenge him. As soon as the signal was given, Emily got to work, moving with a grace and skill that caught the judge's attention. She chopped, sautéed, and seasoned with a precision that surprised herself. With each passing minute, she felt more confident and connected to her passion. The judges, with serious expressions, took notes, while the audience watched attentively. "Does she really think she can stand out here?" Jake whispered to Tyler, who was still watching Emily with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. "She's just a waitress. She doesn't have a chance," Madison added. But doubt began to creep into Tyler's mind. He remembered the times he saw her work hard at the restaurant, how she always smiled even in the midst of teasing. Something about her was different, and he couldn't ignore it. Emily, completely immersed in her task, ignored the provocations that came from the audience. She remembered her close friend who always encouraged her to move forward, and this motivated her even more. "I'm not here to prove anything to them," she muttered to herself as she assembled her final dish. It was a creation that reflected her essence. simple, but full of flavor, with a touch of creativity that she always dreamed of sharing. Meanwhile, Madison's laughter echoed again. Look at her, trying to impress the judges. This is pathetic. Tyler looked at his friends, but his expression had changed. He no longer saw Emily as an easy target, but as someone who was fighting for a dream. She might surprise you, he murmured, almost without realizing it. Madison and Jake stared at him, confused by his sudden change in posture. When the time was finally up, Emily presented her dish with a confident smile. The judges tasted and began to discuss among themselves with expressions of approval. The audience was silent, and Emily's heart was pounding as she awaited the verdict. She realized that no matter the outcome, she had excelled and had shown everyone that she was more than just a waitress. "What did you think, Tyler?" Madison asked, noticing his attention focused on the stage. "Do you still think she's a joke?" Tyler hesitated, realizing that the words that would come out of his mouth could change the way he saw not only Emily, but also himself. He was torn, feeling a wave of conflicting emotions as the audience began to murmur about Emily's impressive performance. The chapter ended with tension in the air, as Emily anxiously awaited the judge's score, and Tyler found himself faced with a choice. Continue with the superficial mockery or recognize the willpower and talent of the young woman who, every day, defied his own expectations. After the competition, the atmosphere in the restaurant seemed different. Tyler, Madison, and Jake sat at a secluded table, away from the usual hustle and bustle, and their conversations were now quieter and more introspective. The brightness of the chandelier lights reflected not only the opulence of the environment, but also the confusion that was beginning to take over the minds of the rich young people. "I can't stop thinking about Emily," Tyler said, looking at the glass of wine in front of him. "She really nailed this competition." Madison crossed her arms, her gaze fixed on the table. "Are you still obsessed with her?" "She's just a waitress, Tyler. We can't forget that." "But what if she's not just that? She has incredible talent," Tyler insisted, his voice showing a mix of admiration and frustration. "It's hard to ignore that she really stands out." Jake, who until then had been listening in silence, finally spoke up. "You're getting carried away by emotion. What she does doesn't change who we are. Her life is a struggle, while we have everything covered." He laughed, but his laughter wasn't accompanied by a twinkle in his eyes, as if doubt was beginning to weigh on him as well. Meanwhile, Emily was at home, reviewing her competition scores. For her, the event had not only been an opportunity to showcase her talent, but a chance to connect with other young people who shared her passion for cooking. In her reflections, she recalled a conversation she had with one of the judges, a chef recognized for his innovative approach to cooking. "You need to surround yourself with people who inspire you," he had said. "Cooking is an art, and like all art, it is shaped by the experiences and interactions we have." These words echoed in Emily's mind as she dreamed of one day being recognized not only for what she does, but for the impact she can have on the lives of others. The next day, while waiting tables, Emily noticed Tyler entering the restaurant. He looked more serious than usual. As he approached her, his heart sped up. "Emily," he began, hesitantly. I thought we could talk." "Of course, Tyler. What do you need?" She tried to keep her voice neutral, but the surprise was evident. "I want to help you prepare for the next stage of the competition," he said, looking straight into your eyes. "I know I may sound like an idiot, but I realized it's not just about being rich or having a famous name. It's about what we do with what we have. And you really deserve this opportunity." Emily was silent for a moment, considering his words. "Why are you doing this? You don't have to worry about me." "Maybe I'm just trying to correct some things I've done in the past," Tyler replied, his tone softer. "I'd like to understand more about what you do, and maybe learn something from you." She hesitated, but the sincerity in her eyes was undeniable. "Okay, I accept your help, but we have to be serious about this. I don't want you to give up halfway." "I promise I won't," he smiled, a genuine smile that made her heart race again. "So, how about we start right now? I can help you with the presentation of the dishes." From that day on, the restaurant became an impromptu training ground. Emily and Tyler would spend hours discussing recipes, techniques, and the best way to present a dish. She shared her knowledge with enthusiasm, while he listened intently, asking questions and taking notes. You know, Tyler commented at one point, I realize I don't know anything about the food world. I always thought it was just cooking, but it's much more complex. Yes, it's an art form, Emily replied excitedly. Every dish tells a story. It's about how you feel when you prepare it and present it. Over the days, the connection between them grew. Tyler began to see Emily not just as a waitress, but as an artist, someone with a vision and a passion he had never encountered before. And all the while, Emily realized that Tyler was changing, that there was something more to him than just the superficiality he'd always shown. A new understanding was formed between them, a bridge that began to unite two worlds that were previously so far apart. Both were ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, not just in the competition, but in their own lives, and the magic of cooking brought them together in an unexpected way. The day of the grand final of the Young Chef competition had finally arrived, and tension hung in the air like a thick aroma of spices. Emily, in her makeshift kitchen, was fine-tuning the last details of her dish, a truffle risotto with wild mushrooms, which she hoped would not only impress the judges, but also do justice to her talent. Among the judges, renowned Chef Gordon, a friend of her family, closely watched the contestants' every move, and his presence was both a relief and a source of nervousness for Emily. As the audience settled in, she took a deep breath, trying to shake off the anxiety that was consuming her. "You can do it, Emily," she murmured to herself, remembering all the nights she dreamed of this moment. In the back of the room, Tyler, Madison, and Jake arrived, their laughter echoing, but Emily didn't let it get to her. She was focused on her goal, determined to show everyone who she really was. Tyler, who had gotten close to her throughout the competition, watched her with a mix of admiration and confusion. "Hey, Emily," he said, trying to break the ice. "You look amazing today. Can I maybe help you with something?" His voice was full of sincerity, but Emily didn't let herself be carried away. She turned around, facing him firmly. "Tyler, I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine like this. I need to focus," he replied, his voice calm but determined. He was surprised by her assertiveness, and an awkward silence fell between them. The competition began, and the clock started ticking, with contestants racing to complete their dishes. Emily moved with grace and precision, each movement carefully planned. Meanwhile, Tyler watched, impressed. He had seen her determination blossom since her first competition, and now, it was clear that she wasn't just a waitress. She was a talented chef. The judges began evaluating the dishes, and when it was Emily's turn, her heart raced. "Trust what you know," he thought, as he presented his creation. "Chef Gordon, this is my truffle risotto with wild mushrooms," she said, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Gordon looked at her with a smile. "Emily, you have an incredible talent. I'm going to prove it now." He took a spoonful to his mouth, closing his eyes to savor the mixture of flavors. "That's exceptional. You have a sensitivity that's rare to find." Emily couldn't help but smile as the other judges also offered praise. A sense of accomplishment and pride enveloped her. However, beside her, Tyler was struggling with his own feelings. He was beginning to understand that the image he had of her was about to be shattered. When the results of the competition were announced, the room fell silent. Emily's heart was pounding as she waited for the decision. Finally, the host's voice echoed, "And the winner of the Young Chef competition is Emily." Deafening applause filled the room, and tears welled in Emily's eyes as she walked to the stage to accept her award. However, the biggest twist was about to happen. With the trophy in hand, Emily turned to the audience and, in a moment of boldness, decided to reveal a secret she had been keeping for a long time. "I would like to share something with all of you," he began, his voice echoing in the room. "I'm the heiress of a famous restaurant chain that belongs to my family. What I really wanted was to prove that my talent is more than just a last name." A murmur ran through the room as Emily's words spread. Tyler froze, eyes wide, unable to process what he had just heard. Her humility, which he admired so much, hid a legacy he could never imagine. Madison and Jake exchanged incredulous looks, realizing they had completely misjudged Emily. "That's unbelievable," Tyler whispered, more to himself than anyone else. He finally understood that Emily's character and determination were what really mattered, not her origins. As the applause echoed, Emily smiled, not just at the victory, but at the opportunity to show everyone that true value lies in the courage to be who you are, regardless of where you come from.